reason that Ovum has written this paper about smart analytics for the CSPs and the telecommunications industry is we feel that the time is right, and by that I mean that the CSPs are ready to listen to what smart analytics can do for them. They've gone through some really tough times. The market's been extremely competitive from the threat from the OTTs like Google and Amazon, and they're beginning to hurt now. They not only need to reduce their costs to become more fleet of foot and efficient like these new guys, but they also need to really sweat their assets, their data assets in particular, to get more out of what they have, and also really engage their customers in the sorts of ways that some of these OTT players have done. Now, if they can use predictive analytics and data management, they can really mine the data assets and use informed decisions to direct the business, which will appeal not only to the customers, but it's going to keep the CFO and the shareholders happy as well. Now the telcos are really beginning to get their arms around predictive analytics. There's all sorts of use cases that they can apply. Now the most obvious ones tend to be minimising churn, making sure that customers stay loyal. So they can look at the sort of behaviour that a customer might display before they churn and then proactively intervene to stop that happening. Or if, for example, in the environment of on-demand TV, they can actually look at viewing habits, time of day, or preferences for individual users in a household. And when somebody's actually looking at the TV, perhaps looking for something like Downton Abbey, they can give them all sorts of other options of similar types of programme, historical or including those actors, and get them to take those services on demand as well. And that's an uplift of revenue for the telco, of course, but it makes the end user feel that the telco is offering them something quite personalised, something quite valuable that they wouldn't otherwise be getting. I think some of the biggest challenges that the telcos face is history, where they've come from, how they're structured, the silos that they have, where the data sits, in getting at that, leveraging the right sort of data. And it can be tremendously time consuming because it requires cooperation across networks, marketing, with the CIO, the CTO and the CMO. They don't always talk, so that can be terribly challenging for them. And then to, as I said before, deliver that in a format that's commercially viable to them and useful for the end customer. Now, taking the right steps, a CSP needs to work from the bottom up. So they certainly need to have strong data management capabilities. So they need to be mindful from the network through the service and application level right up to the customer data level. That has to be absolutely rock solid. They need to be able to know where the data is, how to extract it and pull it together. The second thing I would say is service assurance. That sometimes gets overlooked. Simple things like making sure that the service is available 24/7 and exactly where you say it's going to be, and the customer support behind it, which leads into the third point of assuring the experience. And that has to be multi-channel and cross-channel. So any data that you have on the customer, if they're interacting with you, requesting something about upgrading a service or, heaven forbid, actually complaining about a service, that the information and the responses that you as a CSP give them is consistent through the store, through the online channels, through social media, through the call centre, for example. So all of that needs to be consistent to help assure the customer experience. And then I think finally, you need to think about what you're doing with your analytics insights. Are you going to target a particular customer group first? Is it going to be the large enterprises, the SMEs, or the consumer? What are you going to do? How are you going to time that? What ultimate benefit is that going to give you and your customer? Working on the segmentation. Now, you may decide that you can't do all of this alone. You may need to look to a partner to help you. the communication service provider may decide that it can't actually do all of this alone. It may need to look to a partner, strategic partner. And what sort of partner are they going to look for? Well, I would certainly recommend somebody that understands the telecoms vertical. One thing that's become apparent at the Big Data and Analytics Summit here is that telco vertical is perhaps a little bit later into understanding the benefit of analytics versus, say, utilities and banking. So the CSP needs to engage with somebody that really understands how they tick, what motivates them and what they need to grapple with. So they're looking for somebody that can work with multi-vendor environments, that can really be very proactive, perhaps offer a managed service as well, and really be with them on the journey to get the sort of deliverables that the CSP, as well as the customer, is really looking for.